Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us and welcome to Project ECHO for Parents. We're helping your students learn during COVID-19. Our program includes 3 special presentations on understanding the basics of your students' technology and supporting your children's learning, building skills, and providing enrichment. We'll also have 30 minutes reserved for Q&A for our presenters and our other experts in our panel. We have as you can see, a large cast of amazing supporters and experts to share with you. I'm Dr. Michael Stanton. I'm your facilitator today. I'm the Director of K-12 Education Professional Development for the ECHO Institute at UNM, and I'm also a retired teacher and principal. I'd like to introduce Jesus, one of our IT support staff for today. Jesus, for a quick announcement.
Buenas tardes, soy Jesús con Project ECHO IT y quería recordarles que para esta conferencia estamos ofreciendo la traducción en español y para iniciar el audio en español presionen el botón abajo en la pantalla que dice interpretación y con esa función pueden cambiar el audio de inglés a español. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus. And I'd like to also introduce another important person to our program today for a couple announcements. Stephen, our program manager.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen Murillo, program manager here at ECHO Institute. Just a quick update to submit any questions to our panelists. Feel free to go ahead and use the Q&A icon that's located in the middle of your Zoom screen. If you click on that, you can submit questions and we'll moderate those questions for our Q&A session. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. And also be sure to keep an eye out on the chat window where you'll be able to copy and paste many of the links and resources that our presenters will be sharing today. I'd like to introduce our founder and director for Project ECHO and ECHO Institute, Dr. Sanjeev Arora, for a welcome.
It's a great honor to be here with all of you. And this is the very first time in the whole history of ECHO that we have ever reached out to parents. And this was an idea of Michael Stanton, and he's our Director of Education, and he ran it by our Senior Associate Director, Dr. Joanna Katzman, who will just welcome you next. And we are so excited that we are able to bring best practices to parents of how they could educate their children. This is so critical. When I remember my own learning, it was so related to how much my parents taught me. And so and I also want to just thank all the partners. ECHO is a way to democratize knowledge, to massively scale up implementation of best practices. And I can't think of any better place to do it than the homes of students. So I want to thank all our partners who are, I won't name them because Michael, you will, who are joining in this effort. And I hope this will be a great, great success. And many, many more parents will join in the future. So thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Arora. And really it was the vision of Dr. Joanna Katzman, who's the Senior Associate Director for the ECHO Institute. Joanna, would you like to say a few words about our ideas here?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Joanna Katzman, and I'm one of the associate directors at Project ECHO, and work on Michael and I work on the same team, the team that kind of covers all of the New Mexico ECHO programs, and we're just delighted to have the parents of New Mexico on this ECHO session so we can provide some training for all the parents who really are wanting to be able to teach their kids as school is out of session much earlier than normal because of this COVID pandemic, and perhaps offer some educational tips as the school session ends and then moves into summer. We hope that if this is successful, we can do several more and hope that this might be an ongoing event. We have many other kind of programs like this in the medical realm, but we're just venturing into the educational arena, and like Dr. Aurora said, this is the first time that we've reached out to parents, and we thought this was a great thing to do, and we hope that you enjoy it. Thank you. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Dr. Katzman. I'd like to jump right into our first presentation for today. And as you can see, we've got some amazing partners, but our first partner will be presenting on supporting your child's learning and building skills and providing enrichment, specifically with PBS Learning Media 101 and KNME K-5 programming with APS at Home. New Mexico PBS, we're very honored to have Franz Joachim, the station manager, to introduce our program and presenters.
Thank you very much, Mike. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Welcome, everybody. New Mexico PBS, KNME and KNMD TV, our roots are education. We started out doing exactly what we're doing now, putting on educational programming for kids. That's how public television really started. So it's kind of fun to get back to those roots. We are broadcasting throughout New Mexico with our partner stations in Las Cruces and Portales, KRWG in Las Cruces, KENW in Portales, and KNME in Albuquerque. We cover the entire state, so there should not be a child in New Mexico who does not have access to the educational programming that we are broadcasting. Most importantly, the K-5 programming that Albuquerque Public Schools has been producing, that is what is going statewide. Really appreciate the efforts as well of our PED, Public Education Department, and their willingness to partner with us on all of this. And I want to introduce Dr. Joseph Escobedo, who's the Senior Director of the Office of Innovation and School Choice with Albuquerque Public Schools. And it really is his baby and his idea. So I give Joseph a heck of a lot of credit for this. It doesn't hurt that Albuquerque Public Schools is also a license holder of KNME and that Joseph sits on our board. That had nothing to do with it. It was a brilliant idea, and I really appreciate that he brought this to us. So Joseph, please.
Well, thank you so much. It is a great collaboration between New Mexico PBS and Albuquerque Public Schools. And so we have been able to produce 4-hour-long segments that air Monday through Friday. On Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we focus on English language arts. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we've been focusing on math and science. And so we've divided those hours into the first hour, starting at 8 a.m., we focus on kindergarten and first grade. And then the second hour is English language development and Spanish language arts. And so that's a really good resource for any students who are, monolingual Spanish speakers to really tune in at any age to that hour. At 10 o'clock, we have second, third grade, and at 11 o'clock, fourth and fifth grade. And so our goal is to help students to be able to maintain their skills. We are not building off of certain curriculum or content. It's really to help students to kind of be continued engaged in schooling. And we know that schools across the state have been using and building upon that individually with their teachers in their own home districts. It's a great collaboration. If you've missed any of those, if you go to the aps.edu, you'll see a link at the middle of the page where you can click on the at-home resources and you'll get a link to our YouTube site. We are working on a plan for continued summer learning that has not been finalized, but we hope to continue to engage students into the summer and even as we transition into back to school. And, really with the unknown still, thinking through that this is just a great fundamental way to keep students at least engaged at some level. So thank you for tuning in. I'll turn it over to Laurel Wyckoff with New Mexico PBS, and I hope I did that right transition, and who's going to tell you a little bit more about some resources that they have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joseph. My name is Laurel, as Joseph mentioned, and I am Education and Outreach Manager for New Mexico PBS. So now what I'm going to show you is 2 resources when I share my screen. One is our television station website, nmpbs.org, and I think someone will put that in the chat for me. And then the second one is pbsstudents.org. So I'm just going to show you 2 of our resources I don't want to take up too much time. And so I'm going to share my screen and show you some of those resources. Okay, everybody can see this, I hope. This is our nmpbs.org station website. And of course, right at the top is what Joseph was just telling us about, the APS at home. And then a little bit below, this is where I want people to click resources for parents during the COVID-19 crisis. When you click on that, you will see some important phone numbers first. Then below that, if you are parents of small children, Daniel Tiger can help you to talk about the coronavirus with your kids. Daniel Tiger also is in English and in Spanish, I believe. Below that, all of the locations that are given to us by the New Mexico Out of School Time Network, where you can grab lunches for your kids. This is what I wanted to show you. PBS Learning Media is free for parents, teachers, and students. And every Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m., you can join a 15-minute workshop for how to use it as a teacher. Below that, we have interactive lessons. Some people think PBS is only for little kids because we do Sesame Street. But these interactive lessons are lessons for all grades for students to do on their own time. And I'll just show you a little bit about what's in those interactive lessons in PBS Learning Media for grades 6 through 8 real quickly. And you will see now I'm on pbsstudents.org, and these are the lessons that you can get for grades 6 to 8, but you can change right from here to grade 5, K through 5, or 9 through 12. These are quickly curated lessons that students can do by themselves on their computer or on their phone. And there's a lot of interactive lessons. This is one that I highly recommend. Latino Americans share their experiences. When you click on the lesson that you like, you then click on this button that says Launch. You will be redirected at that point to the lesson. As you can see in the upper right corner here, this is page 1 of 8. And these are the people you would meet in the lesson. If any of you saw Hamilton, there's Lin-Manuel Miranda. We have Jose Hernandez, an astronaut. So these are the people that you will meet. And as the students go through the lesson, they can just click one page at a time, and they will meet these people, and then they will be able to write some responses to questions. That's what all of the interactive lessons look like this. This one is just one specific lesson that I thought you would be interested to see. Going back to our PBS website, this is New Mexico PBS website once again. See, this is where you can access those interactive lessons, nmpbs.org. Another really good resource that I wanted to show you that's on our website is Wide Open School. Once again, this is for every grade level. If you're an educator, you would click here. I am an educator. If you're a parent, you would click We're a Family. Then once you click that, are you interested in pre-K through 5th grade or grade 6 through 12? If you don't have a computer, this looks terrific on your phone. And here are the different resources that are available for you including how to set a daily schedule and routine, which is crazy to do when you're at home in the crisis. Access for all students, emotional well-being, you'll see here. This is something that teachers and parents are asking us for a lot. Something for English language learners. Also learning differences for special education students, reading and writing, math and social studies, getting started learning at home, and you can even take a field trip or do life skills. Each one of these is carefully curated by an organization called Common Sense Media. And just to show you what is behind each of those tiles is a collection of resources that you can use to learn whatever topic you're talking about. So digital citizenship resources come directly from Common Sense Media. What is a safe way to use social media? How can you tell if media is real or fake? And then of course, PBS Learning Media is also on this list. So those are some of the resources that you can find on nmpbs.org. PBS Learning Media, pbsstudents.org, also has a lot of great resources for students from pre-K through 12. As you can see, starting with Sesame Street, health, the arts, science. Each one of these you can flip, hopefully. And from there, you can see the resources that are in PBS Learning Media. This is all free for students. You can either, I'm in the arts section now. So here is dance, here is music, here is theater, here is visual art, and you can search that way. If you want your kids to learn math, and I know you all do, you could click on math and get the same kinds of results, depending on the grade level you're looking at. And there you can see, if I pull this down, there you go. K through 8 math, high school algebra, statistics and probability, other things that your students may need to learn. All right, I have showed you everything that I wanted to for now. Please take time and look at pbsstudents.org and nmpbs.org under the parent resources for some great resources for you to use for your family. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Laurel. And you know, one of the, we asked you to enter your questions as you registered today, and several of you asked, well, what are some of the resources if we don't have technology or good bandwidth? And so you've got some great opportunities and ideas with the KNME program. And don't forget those phones, your mobile phones are very, very important and helpful to you. But we do have, I know a lot of you have technology, and we're very excited to have you know, we also know that a lot of you have asked for some help and ideas on things such as what this thing called Zoom is, and some of the Google applications in classrooms, and how to help use the Apple devices that your students may have to really make the best use of it to support them as they're learning at home. We're very, very happy to have Janae Minicucci and Christina Nunez, who work for Albuquerque Public Schools as educational technology specialists. They are Apple Distinguished Educators and Google Certified Educators, and they're going to share some really cool things for all of us to help with our students. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So first of all, high five yourself, parents, because you're on your Zoom call. Way to go, you got in. You're here, you're officially there. So that's half the battle for getting there. I'm gonna start with just a couple things, and then Tina and I are gonna toggle back and forth on just some tips and tricks and some resources as well. If you haven't opened up the chat, you can see that we've been placing links over there, and Stephen will talk to you all about that later, but you'll need to just copy and paste it. They're not active links, so make sure you grab those before we're done. So I'm gonna share my screen here, and I want you to see that along with PBS, our department of in Albuquerque Public Schools, we're called Educational Technology. We have this incredible website here that we have built, and we have a page on it specifically for parents. So we have these at-home resources. So Tina and I have been working hard, and we have a guide to help you get started specifically for parents with Google Chrome and Google Classroom. We also have a handbook for parents for Google Classroom in English and in Spanish. We have some additional great links that are down here. And then I'm not going to go in depth detail just because I know we have folks from all over the state, but specifically in Albuquerque Public Schools, Rio Rancho Schools, and I think a few others in the state, they have Co-Writer and Snap and Read. These are two extensions that help our students, all of our students and staff, be able to assist with writing as well as reading content. For those that don't have these two extensions, when I turn it over to Tina here in just a second, she's going to go over to make sure that we're signed into the correct Chrome account, because I know a lot of schools are currently using Google Classroom, and it's a little bit confusing toggling between your personal account, whether your student has an account. So we're going to take you a little step by step through that. But just so you can see up here at the top, this is what the two extensions look like. It's a little crosshairs, and then it's a little cloud. The little cloud is Co-Writer, and the little crosshairs is Snap and Read. If students have this in their district, and I know in Albuquerque Public Schools, they would sign in with their Google account and they would turn it on. So when they turn it on, this little strip over here appears on the side, and this microphone over here becomes your best friend. So anything in the Chrome browser, when I click on that, can now be read to us.
The College Board supports AP students with free optional remote learning.
It also supports with highlighting of the text as it's being read. It also will translate into 97 different languages. So if I needed, again, this is a computer. So it's one of the pieces of software that's going to translate and learn as you use it. So it's doing a literal translation right now. So I'm going to highlight that text. And when I hit this little character here, in theory, a little bubble would have popped up, but you know, we're live, and so technology sometimes fails. So let's try one more time. There we go. Oh, so you can see that it translated right within the text. And then I have a voice built in, and I can start to have it read. So it will work within the browser to translate languages. When you first turn on Snap and Read, you're not going to see that. So you have to go down here to the options. When I choose options, down here where it says translate into, here's all your languages. Now this is pretty exciting because here is everything that it will translate into. So it's a really an amazing tool, and there will be a lot of other resources that we can share along with that. So I'm going to do one more thing. A lot of your students have probably seen something like this when they've gotten into a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet. Teachers are really asking, so with your support, we would love for you to help them kind of follow some etiquette. Make sure your students arrive on time. It's really important that they mute their microphones. Sometimes a class of 30, if everybody's in there and we're all waving and I'm talking to everybody, that makes it a little rough. Remind them that somebody's always watching. I'm sure you've seen on the media of the Zoom fails. So don't be one of those. Don't be a Zoom or a Meet fail. And then it's important to try to not be opening bags of chips or having your kids eating while they're in that meeting, because your teachers are working hard to try to continue teaching your students, helping them maintain their skills. And then another thing that's important is really that they make sure that they hang up. We've had a couple times that they just don't end up hanging up. So we do have this available in English and in Spanish for just some great rules to follow anytime, even as adults, when we're in our meets, just to be a part of that. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Tina, and she's gonna talk about signing in and out of your browser and making sure you're on the appropriate browser. And hopefully, there you go. You're still muted, Tina.
It's always those moments when you're like, oh yeah, I want it. Okay, hi. So I'm going to show one of the main problems parents tend to have when they are trying to use Google accounts. APS, one of our biggest systems is Google, and a lot of teachers are right now using Google Classroom. So one of the situations that keeps coming up is students aren't able to get into their accounts because they haven't quite learned how to sign in on their own. So there are two separate accounts. There is something called a Google account, and there is something called a Chrome account if you are on a shared device. If students have Chromebooks, it's automatically going to sign them into a Google account. So I'm going to actually, I'm hoping it doesn't wig out my computer because sometimes it does. I'm going to go to a fake screen here and go into google.com. As long as you are in a Chrome browser and you are signed into google.com, students are going to get all of their apps and everything from this space by signing in the corner. And let's see. I'm going to sign into my APS account. Students are all going to have a different school account as well as a, all different students are going to have a account that is tied to their domain. So it will either be at aps.edu as ours. Some people have a different one at the ending, but now you can see I'm signed into my Chrome or my Google account. And here on the apps, when I click on this, I have access to all of the different apps as a student. Now, to go along with this, it gets a little bit confusing because there is also a Chrome account. So if you are on a computer and you already have a Gmail account and you're logged in and students keep getting kicked out of their things, it's probably because here you need to set up an extra Chrome account. So if you notice, I have a whole bunch of different Chrome accounts here. What you're gonna do is go to add. Once you click on that image, and it might take a moment, you're just going to put on, I'm gonna move this out of the way, put in a name and add that. And then once that happens, it's gonna say, are you already a Chrome user? Sign in with those exact same credentials, and it's going to put an extra Chrome account on that account where it's going to, sorry, now I've opened like 15 windows. It's going to look like this, where you can toggle between different accounts. And we already have a student account up, so I'm gonna go to this one. The other thing is when students are in a Google Classroom, one of the hardest things they seem to have a problem with is turning in their work. Everything that runs through Google Classroom is going to be a list of activities that look like this. So what students are going to have to do is when they click on an activity, is it working?
Yeah, your screen froze. It hasn't switched back.
Come on, you. I'm going a little bit faster than what the screen wants. Come on.
Sorry, it's not popping up the Google Classroom.
Come on. Well, normally it will pop up a Google Classroom, but I'll play with that for a second. I'm going to go back here. It gets upset every time I switch accounts. The other thing that we are suggesting is if students have work that they have in Google, especially in a Google Doc, so I'll show this real quick and then I'll try and get back to the other one. In a Google Doc, they can actually translate their work into a bunch of different languages. So if students have a list of things to do or they have instructions for anything, if there is a dual language home, they can just go to Tools right here, and they can go to Translate, and Google will translate this. And of course, Janae already showed CoWriter and Snap and Read into a whole bunch of different languages. So this is actually going to get translated into Spanish, the whole document right here, where you can see the different instructions. So I'm going to pull up a different classroom, but I'll hand it off to Janae so she can talk about iPads.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to reshare my screen here. And what we're showing you, just as a cautionary, when you're translating anything, remember it's not the same as actually using translation services, or it's not going to be perfect. So we do ask that it will at least give you some assistance in what you're doing. So that is why we appreciate having those available. So I'm going to grab this screen here and share my iPad now. So what I'm going to show, hopefully you all can see my iPad here. It's on a delay. Here we go. These features work the exact same as though you have an iPhone as well. So I'm going to come up here to my settings. When I tap on my settings and I scroll down here.
Hang on, Janae. Your screen didn't want to flip over either.
Okay. Can we see it now?
It's still stuck on the Google Meet one.
Okay. Let me stop sharing and see if I can switch to another screen. This is how we roll in technology. So I'm going to do a reshare. And let me see if I can pull over my iPad. Can you guys see my iPad now?
Yeah, it's there.
Okay. So I'm under settings, which is our little gear. And I'm going to come down here to accessibility. When I'm at accessibility, I'm going to open that up. And I'm going to go over here to spoken content. This is really important for really anybody. When I tap on spoken content, I want to turn on speak selection and speak screen. I also want to turn on highlight content. Typically, I'm going to choose words and sentences. This helps everybody because it's going to highlight the words and the sentence as we're reading. And then I want to choose a background color. For those who might have a struggle with color blindness, blues and greens are great colors to choose so that you can see it easily, but notice you can come in and you can choose a color that works. So once I've done that, just for our sakes of demoing, I'm going to go over here to Safari. And I went to Wikipedia just because I wanted some text to show you, but you can use this anywhere within the iPad. When I take my finger and I hold it down on this word turtles, I notice that there's two handles that appear. If I grab that bottom handle and I pull it across to grab that first paragraph, notice there's a little menu that pops up. When that menu pops up, I can choose speak.
Turtles are reptiles of the order Testudines characterized by a special bony or cartilaginous.
So it will go through and it will read the content for me. I can go then and tap the next section and do the same thing if it's not highlighted. And grab this text and have the content read to me. So no matter where you're at in your reading ability, or if you'd want to have a family read aloud, you can come in here and you can have content that you pull up in Safari and have it read to you. The other great thing about this is if I come up here and I see this little lowercase, the little a and the capital A, if I tap on that, I can change the view so I can take away some distractors from my students. If they're, or my children, if they're being distracted by the photos, I can change it to show reader view. And now it's changed the look and the layout of it, but I still have the ability to come in here and read the content just the same.
Turtles are reptiles of the order.
And notice it's just taken away some of the distractors on the side and really laid it out a nice page for my students. I can also go back to that A, and if the white on white is too much, sorry, it's kind of scrolling at a slow pace. I'm on a delay here. Maybe. So I went back and I tapped that A, and now I have changed that color background, so it's not white on white anymore. I can also come in and I can change it to a dark background, a gray, or I could go to the black. Depending on, I love using this feature if I need to read stuff and I'm outside. On my phone or on my iPad, it really helps with the glare from the sun. I can also come in here and I can change the font. So if I wanted a different type of font, I can come in here and I can change that font, as well as increase the font size. So if I am struggling to actually read, or I need my font larger for me, I can come in and I can increase the font on the website. Along with that, I can go back to my settings, or I can go back into Pages here. So into just a word processing tool, maybe. Here we go. And if you notice down here on the bottom, I have Siri turned on. There's a little microphone on the bottom of the keyboard. When I tap that, this allows for dictation. So now I can continue to talk, period. I can tell you my story, period. And it will write down what I am saying. Then all I have to do is tap off my keyboard. Sorry, there's a bit of a delay, so I'm really not trying to go super slow. Then my same features apply, where I can hold down my finger, and I can highlight that whole paragraph. Notice that menu pops up again, and that fourth icon, when I tap speak.
So now I can continue to talk. I can tell you my story, and it will.
So many times our students have so much to tell us, and they struggle with spelling, and our students, we want to know what they have to say, and we really want to enhance their voice. So this allows for them to be able to dictate. This is not only a feature in Apple, but I know on Android devices, they have a Google Assistant. And when I toss it back to Tina here in just a second, she's going to show you the built-in dictation tool that's in Google Doc as well. So those are two of the features. If I also go back here to Safari, so we turned on speak screen as well. And so there's another reader that populates when I take my two fingers and I swipe from the top.
Turtle for other uses. See turtle. Disambiguation. This articles.
So this reader, he'll populate and he'll hang out over here on the side by swiping two fingers from the top. This little guy will pop open and hang out on your screen, on your iPad or on your phone. And so you can have this read in any app and anywhere on those devices. So it's just a great way. It's not only for our students with disabilities, but this is something I use all the time. I am a multitasker, so I like to turn on Siri and have her read stuff to me. I'll have her read my emails, or I will dictate and have her take notes. I'll have her make phone calls. The last feature I want to show you is back in accessibility under my settings, maybe. There we go. And I'm going to go back into accessibility, and I have this guy called Zoom. So I have this magnifying glass that turns on. So many of us, or we sometimes have students who need stuff that is larger. I have this little magnifying glass that will go along the screen. And when I tap three fingers on my screen, it disappears. Maybe. And when I tap three fingers, it'll disappear, and then it'll come back as well. If I tap three fingers, it'll come back again. So with that, I'm gonna unshare my screen, and I'm gonna let Tina go ahead and jump back in and show you a little bit more about the Google Classroom, as well as how we can dictate in a doc. Hopefully it's off the screen.
I think when I go to an incognito tab, it stresses it out a little bit. So I figured that might have happened, but be good. Okay. So what I did is I went back into my other Google account. So when students are signed into Google, so we're flipping from Apple to Google here really quick. They have a lot of different tools that they have access to called the G Suite for Education. They have all of these tools that are cloud-based, that are kind of our old school Microsoft Office style tools, but they are the Google version of them. So there's Docs, Sheets, Slides. They don't have Gmail turned on in our district, but others do. Calendar, YouTube is affiliated with that. And so to go along with that, I was trying to show a classroom, but I'm going into a different one now. One of the biggest tickets we get from parents is that my child's trying to turn something in and they can't turn it in. So classwork, if students aren't familiar with it, there is a little bit of a trick so you can help them out at home, is they're going to have to find the assignment they're going to want to turn in. And when they view that assignment, they can complete the assignment by clicking on the attachments. They do not need to make a copy. They don't need to save it to their hard drive. They don't need to do any of that. It automatically gets created and copied and all set up for them in Google Classroom. So sometimes students will try and go overboard and really try and make another copy or add something or do something extra, and they don't have to. So when they click on the actual attachment itself, it will make a copy for that particular student. Right here, it's got my name on it. And they're going to be able to turn that in right from their Google Docs. And it does get a little bit confusing if you use this in a business setting, because normally what you would want to do is you'd want to share this file, and actually you don't want to share it. Not in Google Classroom. You're going to actually want to have students turn it in. So there's going to be a new button that's created right here just through Google Classroom where students turn in their work. So we know that some parents have been trying to be really helpful, and they're like, well, I share stuff for work all the time. I'm really familiar with Google tools. Let me tell you how to do it. Let's make a copy. You actually don't need to do that with Google Classroom. It just automatically turns all that in. Also, if students have the Google Classroom app on their phones, they are able to add photos and attachments right through here. The other thing we were talking about is in here, this add-on, or not add-on, in Google Docs, we also have tools where it is a voice typing tool, and you can click it to speak, and right through Google Docs, you can talk, and it will annotate through here as well. We do have a YouTube video, and we will put that in the chat, that has a student how-to walkthrough on how to use all things with your Google Classroom, as well as how to sign in and out of your Chrome account. So I'm gonna stop sharing.
Thank you. We also did a full session earlier this week on accessibility. So we're going to turn it back to Mike. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina, and thank you, Janae. And I appreciate, so anyone in the state can access your website, even though it's an APS website?
Mm-hmm.
With
absolutely.
resources?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And our YouTube.
And the YouTube channel. Wonderful. That is fantastic. You know, one of the things that we've heard from a lot of our teachers, from you parents, is, okay, trying to keep your students engaged and kind of thinking ahead during the summer and in enrichment, and how can we kind of keep them motivated when they're not able to get out as much and do the things, play the sports. And so our last presentation before we get into Q&A is supporting your child's learning, building skills, and providing enrichment with Khan Academy. And many of you may have heard of it, but here to present over the next 10 minutes and then we'll get right to your Q&A, is Ms. Pam Richards. She's the Regional Advanced Placement Coach for the New Mexico College Board Partnership. And she really believes the opportunities offered by the College Board Khan Academy partnership are incredible. And she's a longtime English teacher like I used to be. So Pam, thank you so much for presenting.
It is my pleasure. And thank you, Michael, for allowing me to be a part of this amazing initiative. Thank you, participants, for your commitment and diligence to your children. In my book, you're rock stars. I have the pleasure today to provide information on the amazing resources available on Khan Academy. Khan is a free resource and is a gold mine for assisting students in developing skills. In the interest of time, I'm going to share an option that has worked really well in helping all age groups remediate and accelerate learning. Next. Both parents and teachers are able to create a Khan account and sign up their children. Today, I want to show you the parent component. This is going to seem like a lot of information. Don't panic. Please note the URL at the top of this page, and it's going to give you, this will be available to you. You click on it, and it will give you a complete parent guide with step-by-step how to walk through what I'm going to talk about today. Next. On what you're going to do first is you're going to set up a parent account. And in order to do that, you're going to link to khanacademy.org and click on the parent button. This is going to allow you to sign up and be able to do a lot of things that I'm going to elaborate on later. Next. Once you create an account or log into an existing account, if you have one, you'll be taken to your parent dashboard. If you're not automatically taken to your parent dashboard, you can click on your name in the upper right-hand corner and then click on Parent Dashboard in the drop-down menu. And you will get where you are supposed to be. All right, next. On this slide, we're going to create or add a student account. Now, let me say this before I forget. Anything that you can do on a computer on Khan, you can do on your phone. So that's a really valuable resource because that allows students that might not have access to a computer or to the internet, they can do things on their phone. If you're viewing the parent dashboard for the first time, you'll see a welcome message. And then your parent dashboard is going to be empty. To continue with your child, you click on a child button. If your child already has an account, perhaps they set up one in school, you can connect to that account as the parent. This allows you to see the progress your child is making at school and will also allow the teacher to see what your child has been doing at home. To add your child's existing account, click on Add Child button on your parent dashboard and then click on My Child already has an account under the field of your child's birthday. So you will either create an account for your child, or if they already have an account and you want to have that linkage between the teacher and yourself, and the teacher has that access also, that's an excellent way to do it. Okay, next. If you're viewing your parent dashboard for the first time, oh, whoops. Now, this is the most exciting part to me. You can follow your student's progress, your child's progress. This progress report allows you to filter their activity time, content, and what activity they actually did. You also are able to see their mastery level of any skill practice. You will also be able to see how many problems they got right versus the total number of questions. This allows you that input to understand where their skills are strong and what skills might need to be improved. That is really important, especially it helps kids get a little bit more excited about practicing. Next. On Khan Academy, there are numerous complete units in every subject that they contain videos, quizzes to check progress, and additional support materials. As you can see, there's a wide variety. You can choose either the math for your student by grade or by subject, or you can choose the ELA, the English Language Arts, by grade, and that predominantly works on reading. There's a lot of other programs that your older kids might be interested. There's college admissions, careers, personal finance, lots of help with the SAT or the MCAT even. So this is a great opportunity for your students to learn. I know my niece was struggling in anatomy in college. I told her to get on Khan. She got on Khan, she looked it up, she started practicing, she found the unit that they were on in class, and she passed it. Okay, next. To summarize this portion, the last portion of my presentation, I just want to say many students across the U.S. are having great success in using Khan to help remediate and accelerate learning. Parents can assign skills practice or monitor assignments a teacher has made. They can direct their child in areas that the child does not understand, and perhaps the parent can't help with. That would be math for me. For those of you that have children in high school and junior high, you can use the exact same process we already discussed, and you also have access to more specific help. The screen that I have up now is about full-length practice test. If they link between, the Khan Academy, excuse me, my tongue's getting twisted. Khan Academy has full-length practice tests for SAT. That means a student can sit down, or your child can sit down and take a full-length practice test and get the results immediately. And not only that, but get the questions they missed so that they know what to work on. There's also video lessons that go step by step to explain a math problem or to teach them how to do a reading passage. Very, very good videos. Interactive problems and instant feedback. Whatever they do on Khan Academy, they will get feedback, and it will be immediately. There's also a daily practice app that they can put on their phone, which allows them to just look at one question a day, work through it, and have the information on why they got it right or why they got it wrong. Okay, next. We all know that I think we all agree that practice is important. But children, and for that matter adults, don't always like to practice. However, if they understand that a little practice goes a long way, it is much less painful. For example, when students use focused, personalized practice before they take the SAT test, they can see an increase of 90 points for just 6 to 8 hours of practice. That's a big return on investment. 90-point increase on an SAT is very, very good. If they practice 20 to 24 hours before they took it, and I'm talking over months, not weeks or days, they can increase, the average increase was 115 points. There were many, many students that they tested that had a 200-point or better gain. Okay, next. I won't spend too much time on this because you're going to have access to it, but this is how your student can link any College Board test that they've ever taken. They can link that test to Khan, and it will allow them, it will give them their own personalized practice, which means if I linked my PSAT math test or PSAT test and I looked at math and I linked it, I would see the math problems that I missed on that test, and that allows me to remediate that, whatever I missed. So there's videos, there's hints you can have if you don't really need the whole video. It's really, really a remarkable thing. They can do the same thing on language arts. These steps are the steps that they take to get that linkage to happen. Next. And this is just how they get there. They have to have an Khan account. Many students in high schools and junior highs already have accounts. Their teachers are using it for support system. They already have accounts. Most all of New Mexico sophomores and sometimes juniors have taken the PSAT, so they should have. However, they should have access to linking their scores. Okay, next. Just how they will link. They have to give College Board permission to show their test scores to Khan, and this is how they do that. Next. And again, they have to sign back into their College Board account, and that's how everything gets linked up. Next. Now, if they have to allow it, they have to say, okay, I do allow them to send my things. So next. And now it's time to start practicing. As you can see, under current skill level, there's a math and a reading and writing. When College Board redesigned the SAT, they decided to embed science and history into the math and reading and writing. So there will be questions on that. So let's say that their weakest area was math. They can click on the math button and it will take them to a list of mathematic things that they needed to work on. So let's say they chose linear equation. They could click on that and a question would come up from that they missed. They can either answer it if they know it, or they can look at the video, or they can get a hint. Once they've gotten 3 in a row right, they're leveled up automatically. So sometimes they've had a lot of time with teachers and a lot of times to practice before they get this information. And so a lot of times they will be leveled up quickly, which is exactly what we want. You can do the exact same thing in reading and writing. Okay, next. So again, this is just what I said. They can look at linear equation word problems and they can practice the skill, and it will be a question that they missed, which is very valuable. Now, a lot of times parents are going to say, well, you know, this is about SAT. I don't know that my student's even going to go to college. What I would tell you is that Common Core standards are what everything is based upon as far as the things that you want to practice on. Common Core standards are aligned to the national level. That's what they look at to see, they measure that to see who is college and career ready. So it's valuable. It's also valuable for if they're behind in school. I know as a high school teacher, I had very little extra access to my students, so it was hard for me to remediate them. If they got on con, they could remediate themselves quickly. I had several students, but one in particular was an ELL student. She was devastated about her first PSAT test because it indicated that she was 2 years behind in skills. She went to work on con, not hours and hours, but she worked faithfully. And by the time she took the PSAT 11, she had increased her score to the point that she was well into the level that made her college and career ready. She continued to work on that for her SAT. She ended up getting a very good academic scholarship because of her SAT scores. So she's a great success story, and we've got bunches of those. Okay, next. This is our contact information for what, you can access us if you need to. You can email us if you have further questions or you have information that you'd like more of. I know this stuff will be posted, and you will have, you should have pretty much what you need. To me, the greatest value of these resources is to build skills and proficiency in a way and in a time frame that the kids can control to a degree, and that lessen the pressure of those that get behind and get frustrated and discouraged. Whew. I know this is a lot to take in. Please remember that the resources we're providing are going to help you master it, and you do not have to try to do everything. Pick 1 or 2 things on con that seem like they would be good for your children and let them go to work. You're going to be able to see the progress of their work and be able to encourage them, brag on them, and so forth. I'm just so grateful for this opportunity, and I hope it's meaningful to you. It is probably important, maybe I should have said this at the beginning, to note that I am an English teacher, so I'm going to always tell you more than you ever wanted to know about anything. So with no further ado, I encourage you, I like to encourage you by reminding you that during these unprecedented times, you need to remember that you're balancing many things, and it's important to practice self-care. And please know that your children's teachers will be ready for them when this subsides. Be well, and thank you.
Thank you, Pam. I appreciate it. Thank you for that and some wonderful resources. You've heard from some great folks. I know it's getting late, but we're going to be able to stay on for another 10 minutes or so. because we have a lot of Q&A, and a lot of the questions that you asked as you registered, I kind of cheated and I gave them already in advance to our presenters. So many of your questions have been answered in our presentations. So hopefully that will work. And even though we only have maybe 10 minutes or so left, but there's still others. And we have some additional panelists. I just want to introduce briefly and wave Jennifer Chavez Miller, a Golden Apple Fellow, who's an elementary teacher and a specialist in communications and technology and ELL with APS. Violetta Georgievich is a National Board Certified Special Ed teacher. So she's worked with gifted and students of all disability levels, and she can help answer a couple questions. And Jeff Tuttle is a Golden Apple Award teacher of excellence, and he's an elementary teacher at Monte Vista here in Albuquerque. So we're going to jump right in, and there's still time to ask some questions. But I'm going to go right back to Janae and Tina. I think you answered this question already, but I want to make sure. Will there be Google training for parents that are offered by APS Tech Department? I thought I saw you had a link of a tutorial already recorded there, right?
Yeah, we have the website that Janae showed at the beginning, and we put some links to our YouTube channel. We are feverishly making videos that are how-to videos, not only for the teacher how-to, but we've been making them for students / parents as well. So the Google Classroom and Chrome are up now, and we link those in the chat.
Thank you, Tina. And Franz, one of the questions maybe you can help us out. Will there be, will people be able to find the recording of the session? We're recording this via Zoom. It'll take us a day or so, but is there a way that we could work together to make this recording available and easily available to parents around the state?
Yeah, we'll be putting it on our parents resource page that Laurel alluded to earlier. So it will be on nmpbs.org. Laurel, you want to give the website again? I can't remember. It's nmpbs.org. That's where I go.
You just click on the parent resources right below the banner. That will get you where you need to go.
There you go.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And I believe it's in the chat window as well. You know, we had several questions, and I want to bring in Jeff and Jen and Violetta. Maybe you can kind of share some of your thoughts. A lot of parents are struggling with how to keep kids motivated and engaged. How can they best support them to, you know, just to kind of be involved? It's kind of over the category of motivation. There's so many challenges we're all facing. Jeff, can I start with you? Can you take a minute to kind of share your thoughts and recommendations, sir?
You bet. And this goes back to, we've had some echoes with the PED, Dr. Gwen Perea-Warnament and Katharina Sandoval talked about the social emotional learning and connection. And that, I think, is really where all motivation stems from, is that kind of care, the self-care that Pam was just talking about, first of all, and the care for your family and the connections that you have to kind of slow down and take a breath. There are a bunch of things being thrown in a lot of different directions, but to first kind of focus on the simple things. A lot of things that we're talking about are online, but, you know, playing a game of Scrabble or playing a game of Yahtzee, doing things like that as a family helps with motivation and relationship, and takes advantage of the time that you have together, if you have that time together. And if you don't have that time together, to have to go on a walk, a short talk with your family members and share your goals and visions for what you hope the other end of this brings your family to, I think is something to do, and to kind of help discuss together the bridge that you want to build together to get to that place. And that's, you know, with my family, my wife and I talk about things, and my girls and my wife and I play games and try to do things that we think are healing to all of us, I think.
Thank you, Jeff. Jen, what are your thoughts and recommendations? How to get them kind of focused on schoolwork and stay engaged and still have that balance that Jeff talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really thinking about the middle school kids. As a teacher, I was with middle school students for 15 years. You know, we often look at our our young adolescent learners and think that they have a lot of independent learning skills. But I think it's important to keep in mind that right now, this type of learning, this type of being is new to all of us. And so they haven't had the chance to even kind of acquire skills to do this really well. And so I pull back and I think about those of us parents that are now working from home as well in this digital world. And then I'm thinking about, I have a 17-year-old daughter, but I put her back to when she was 3 years old, and that idea of modeling. And so I always use the analogy of when we teach our kids how to brush their teeth, right? So at first we're like brushing them for them, and then we have them sitting on the counter next to us and we're brushing and they're brushing and we're kind of modeling. And so taking this opportunity to model and work side by side with our kids, really kind of pulling back the curtain of, hey, this is really stressful and frustrating for me as an adult working in this environment. How is it working for you? And trying to come up with strategies on both ends. But I also think this is an opportunity. I know that schoolwork is really stressful right now for kids. They're without a schedule. Our early adolescent learners definitely need structure and they need schedule, so that the more that we can put in, you know, time to get up in the morning and time to shower during the week, that all helps to try to situate around that academic work. But it also gives us an opportunity to broaden our perspective of what learning is. So in addition to the academic learning, maybe kids are learning how to world for our middle school learners really is situated on social situations. So our middle school kiddos are probably really missing their friends right now. And so building in time for kids to connect virtually with their friends is going to support their emotional well-being, and I believe their academic well-being as well.
Thank you so much. Violetta, there's a lot of, there are parents here with students with special needs, and what advice can you give to parents as to kind of keep their students engaged and supportive and motivated and right now?
So I would say the connection with a classroom teacher and all the specialists that are working with a student during the school year and during the school day is essential. So we're going to forge new relationships. We're going to communicate with parents more frequently than we usually do. And I know that a lot of families have children different ages, maybe elementary school child, middle school child, and high school child. And it's really hard to juggle all the work and all the tools that we have, and parents' work as well. But remind your children that school day is a little shorter. So that might be a motivator. We also have more children in the classroom, like maybe 25 students. Parents now have 3. I also would say that now is the time for us to have kids apply skills that they have learned in school to practice math, like learn some finances or learn to cook, maybe write a recipe and then have somebody read a recipe and execute the recipe. I remember when I taught elementary school, one of the tasks was to write a recipe to make a peanut butter sandwich, and a lot of kids never wrote the step, open the peanut butter jar. So we were not able to make the sandwich, but there are a lot of things that kids are learning right now, and our response to this situation is one of the biggest lessons that they will learn. So the better we react as adults, the better our children are going to be equipped to react to situations like this in the future.
Thanks, Violetta. And Joseph, maybe I can come back to you because you kind of hinted at this earlier, but another question, and maybe if you could try to extend beyond just the metro area, but parents are wondering what are going to be some of the programs that students can be involved in over the summer to help them, at different ages, to kind of continue or kind of keep them engaged as in the months ahead.
Well, what we know is that, we have hundreds of hours of programming now that have been, not hundreds, but I guess dozens of hours of programming that are able for parents to go back and use during this time after school ends. So we'll be airing until the end of the month. And then we are working on a plan for the summer. So we don't have anything definitive. We are working with the public education department to try to figure out how to do that summer bridge. I appreciate New Mexico PBS is stepping up and saying, how do we continue to be part of that? And so we're working on that, but nothing definitive, but we know that it is something that we need to think about, and we are working on it.
Thank you. Thank you. We're coming up against our closing time, but this has been, just an honor to be able to host you. And I want to thank all of our panelists and presenters. You're amazing. The amount of time that they put together. Tina and Janae in particular have spent hours over the last 3 weeks doing different presentations, plus all of the online resources and the work that Laurel and has done with us and sharing. We want to continue to do what we can at Echo Institute to support our teachers and parents, and especially our students in these very unusual times. So look at Khan Academy, look at some of these other resources. We're going to have this recording, share these notes, copy real quickly the chat from the screen. And Dr. Katzman, if you'd like to have the final word here before we close, I appreciate it.
Oh, I just was mesmerized listening to everything. I've got 3 kids between the ages of 18 to 24, and I feel like I could have used all the tips that Michael's Echo Education programs have he's taught me, and this parent program has taught me. I feel like so much of it has been so helpful, and I hope the parents got a little bit out of this today. I certainly did, got tremendous amount, and I'm just so grateful for all the panelists for really volunteering their time to be part of this. You guys are truly amazing, and we're all so grateful for you, and we're so appreciative for the parents that are not only working but are also serving as their child's teacher pretty much right now. And so thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you, Dr. Katzman, and thank you all again. Thank you so much. Be safe and be well. Have a great evening. Thank you.